Hello, welcome to the Green It Up Club. I'm Michael, and today we're talking about stress. So you might have a few questions. The first one might be, why stress? Why is stress so important? Well, let me tell you, stress is really important because it affects every organ system of the body. Stress affects your nervous system, your cardiovascular system, your digestive system, your endocrine system, every system of the body. Stress affects it. Now, what really is stress? The true definition of stress is any real or imagined threat and your body's response to it. You may have heard of the fight or flight response. This is actually part of your body's stress response. This goes back to the caveman days when we were all running around hunting and gathering. Imagine a tiger or a saber-toothed tiger jumps out of the woods and starts chasing you down. You're either gonna prepare to fight it or you're gonna run as fast as you can away from it. Now, we don't really have that situation anymore these days in our modern times, but the same physiological response happens in your body, even though we don't encounter those kind of stressors anymore. For example, if you're afraid of clowns, if you have a fear of clowns, you may have gotten that stress response. You're either gonna fight that clown or you're gonna run away from that clown. So that's just one example. Now, to truly understand what the stress response is and what it does to your body, we have to understand the entire stress response. Now, if you remember the definition of stress, it's any real or imagined threat. So first, your brain has to recognize something as a threat, and that happens in your amygdala. This is the area of emotional processing in your brain. So once the amygdala senses some kind of danger or stress, it sends a signal to the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus is like the command center of your body. It's telling every organ system what to do, and it controls your breathing rate, your heart rate, your blood pressure. After the hypothalamus is activated, it switches on the sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is where a lot of different things start. First, it's going to send a signal to your adrenal glands. The adrenal glands will now secrete epinephrine or adrenaline. Adrenaline junkies, you know exactly how this feels when you get that adrenaline rush. And if you're not an adrenaline junkie, you might have felt this when you watch a really scary movie or someone jumps out of the closet at you or something scary happens. You get that rush, and then all of a sudden you either want to fight something or you're going to run away as fast as you can. So that adrenaline rush is actually part of your stress response. Now, adrenaline is going to do quite a few things. It's going to increase your heart rate, increase blood flow to your muscles so you can run away. It's going to increase pulse rate and blood pressure to rush more blood out to your extremities so that you can run away or fight something. It's going to increase your breathing rate and bronchodilation so you have more oxygen in your blood so that you can run faster or fight longer. And that oxygen is going to keep your brain more alert so you can think faster and do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do in those circumstances. Now, it's important to note that all of these things happen instantaneously. This is why people are able to do amazing things like jump out of the way of a car before they even realize the car is there. This is just the beginning of the stress response. Once adrenaline is released into the bloodstream, it kind of floats around through your body until it's all used up. So if you've ever had an adrenaline rush, it takes a few minutes to kind of regain yourself, and you might be shaking or you might be a little jittery. You might still feel that rush, but after a few minutes or so, it starts to wear off. And this is where the second stage of the stress response kicks in. The second stage of the stress response is going to involve the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. So you have a couple of things happening here. First, the hypothalamus secretes a hormone, then the pituitary secretes a hormone, and then finally the adrenal glands secrete a hormone, which is cortisol. Now, cortisol is an amazing hormone. It does so many things in the body. It mobilizes and increases amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. It stimulates liver to convert amino acids to glucose, the primary fuel for energy. It stimulates increased glycogen in the liver. It mobilizes and increases fatty acids in the blood, which are going to be used for energy production. Cortisol also counteracts inflammation and allergies. It prevents loss of sodium. It maintains resistance to stress, and it maintains your mood and emotional stability. So cortisol is truly an amazing hormone for keeping you alive and stable under a stress state. So what's the problem with this stress response? Why is it so important? Well, good question. Thank you for asking that. The problem is that when you're exposed to stressors chronically, these cortisol levels will remain high chronically, and that has a different effect on your body. There are a lot of effects of chronically elevated cortisol levels. It diminishes cellular utilization of glucose. It increases your blood sugar levels. This means that you can't utilize glucose properly, which means you might have problems develop later on, like diabetes. It decreases protein synthesis. It increases protein breakdown that can lead to muscle wasting. This means that your body's going to be slowly breaking down over time. It causes demineralization of bone, which means you can develop osteoporosis later on in life. It interferes with skin regeneration and healing, which means you can develop all kinds of skin issues, including wrinkles. It causes shrinking of lymphatic tissue, and it diminishes lymphocyte numbers and functions. Now, your lymph system is primarily used for getting rid of waste, and this is super important with any kind of disease, especially cancer. This is just a brief overview of what chronically elevated cortisol levels can do to your body. So this is why stress, chronic stress, is such a huge problem. A lot of doctors actually refer to this as a sympathetic dominant state. This means your sympathetic system is constantly working in overdrive to deal with all of these chronic stressors. If you're in this sympathetic dominant state for too long, your organ systems are going to break down, especially your endocrine system. Now, when these organ systems start to break down, you're going to see all kinds of symptoms manifest from it. And most doctors are looking at those symptoms and trying to treat those symptoms, which doesn't really make sense if you don't handle the original thing that caused your body to go into that stress response. Now, take a look at this list. This is a list of the symptoms that someone might be experiencing or presenting with if they have adrenal fatigue. So let's say someone's depressed. Should we give them an antidepressant, or should we handle that stressor that was causing the adrenal fatigue? So that's the adrenal glands. What about the thyroid? What happens when the thyroid is constantly in this stress state? Now, these are symptoms of somebody that could be in a hypo or even a hyperthyroid state. So somebody with a thyroid issue that was originally caused by some type of chronic stressor could be experiencing all sorts of symptoms like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue. So what if we gave a drug to help somebody with fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue? Are we actually helping that person, or are we just covering up a symptom of a much larger problem, which is not even the thyroid, but actually a problem with chronic stress? And of course, the pancreas. Remember, the pancreas is one of the first organs to start breaking down. So you're going to see problems like diabetes. You're going to have heart problems, strokes, glaucoma, cataracts, retinopathy, and a whole bunch of other symptoms. So if somebody's diabetic and we're giving them insulin shots to help with the diabetes, but we're not actually solving the original problem, which is the pancreas is breaking down slowly and it's not functioning properly, then we're not actually helping that person get better. Now, the digestive system. So you actually have 4 times less blood flow going to your digestive system in a stress state. And you're going to have a host of other problems: decreased metabolism, decreased enzymatic output, decreased nutrient absorption. Now, could this be why we're seeing such a huge rise in digestive disorders like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Maybe. Now you know what stress can do to your body. But we have to identify what a stressor actually is. There are 3 basic types of stressors. You have emotional, physical, and chemical stress. In the old days, they actually used to call this thoughts, trauma, and toxins. Most people, when they think of stress, they think of emotional stress, stressing about finances or relationships, or maybe they're arguing with their siblings or their wife or husband. That is primarily what people think about when they think of a stressor. But physical stress is just as important because it activates this stress response just the same. So physical stress could be really straining your body at the gym, or running a marathon, or it could be a sedentary lifestyle. That's just as damaging as really stressing out your body. Also, trauma, physical trauma, getting hit by a car or falling, slipping and falling. Chemical stress is a big one, especially nowadays. Chemical stress is mainly from environmental toxins, toxins in food. We live in a very toxic environment and we're exposed to a lot of chemicals. Now, if on top of that, you're adding into that chemical toxicity by taking medications for one of these symptoms, yeah, you guessed it, you're gonna put your body in an even more stressed state. So now you have a great foundation of knowledge. You know what stress does to your body and you know the 3 types of stress. But in future videos, I'm going to do a lot more information on how to help your body deal with specific stressors. So if you're being exposed to any of these stressors and your body's in that stress state, you might be taking medications, you might be exposed to toxic food, you might be under a lot of physical stress. There are great ways of dealing with stress and there are terrible ways of dealing with stress. Medications obviously won't fix the original problem. So let's green it up and help you deal with your stressor appropriately. Now I'm going to show you a really simple exercise that's going to help you deal with stress appropriately. And it's simple, anybody can do it, and you can do it right now. It's deep breathing. But here's an actual technique that will help you with your deep breathing. This technique is called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So basically, you're going to breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, and breathe out for 8 seconds. Super simple. All right, so let's try this technique right now. Ready? Breathe all the air out of your lungs. Now remember, you're going to breathe in through your nose, hold it, and then breathe out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose is really important for this exercise. Now there's a lot of benefits to nose breathing. It warms up the air, it cleanses the air of any pathogens or dust or bacteria. Now your nasal passage actually has nerves that connect directly up to the hypothalamus, so it's going to help you with your heart rate and breathing rate. And you also have mucous membranes in your nose that when you breathe air in, it's going to start secreting nitric oxide. Now nitric oxide is awesome because it vasodilates, which means it opens up your blood vessels, so you're going to have better blood pressure. It's also a bronchodilator, so it's going to open up your airways and help you get more oxygen into your lungs. And it also lowers your blood pressure, it increases oxygen absorption, it kills bacteria and viruses, and it boosts your immune system. Nitric oxide is fantastic, and you get all of this just from breathing through your nose. This simple breathing exercise will help your body deal with any kind of chronic stressor. So whenever you feel you're in that stress state, just do this exercise for a few minutes and you'll notice a huge difference. In future videos, I'm going to show you many more ways of dealing with stress appropriately so that you can function optimally and heal your body naturally. Because remember, Green It Up Club, it's a lifestyle. Thanks for watching, guys, and welcome to the Green It Up Club.